Did you know that Sauron's deception as Annatar lasted for 3 long centuries? 300 years of illusion, masquerade, and leading the elves down a path they would never truly recover from. In this video, we'll break down how Sauron executed one of his greatest artifices. With guile and cunning, he met Middle-earth on a path of destruction that would last until he himself was defeated in the final days of the Third Age. And how he devised the perfect deception for Celebrimbor, famed craftsman, descendant of Fëanor, an unwitting ally in the creation of Sauron's Rings of Power. In the year 1200 of the Second Age, a radiant being appeared in Middle-earth for the first time, Annatar, Lord of Gifts. Fair to behold, clearly supernatural, and claiming to have come as emissary from the Valar, Annatar quickly came to the attention of the elves. He sought them out directly, in fact, for it was the elves he longed to corrupt as the most significant threat to his power. But the wise were not so easily corrupted. Trying first to gain entry to Lindon, the domain of Gil-galad, Annatar was not welcomed. The High King, with a young Elrond alongside him, sensed something in Annatar and they did not treat with him. Shunned too by Galadriel and Celebrimbor, Annatar turned finally to Celebrimbor in Eregion. Driven by the desire to match his grandfather's work, Fëanor's grandson lapped up the honeyed words and proffered gifts. His ambition, once a strength in craftsmanship, became a weakness, and Annatar began to befriend Celebrimbor, promising great things would come from their partnership, and indeed it did. In Eregion, a golden age of craftsmanship began. Annatar spent decades training the Gwaith-i-Myrdain, that famous clan of Ost and Idlil smiths, to create masterpieces. Celebrimbor was edging closer to his grandfather's legacy, and all that came with it. With such swift progress, he trusted Annatar even more. How could he be anything but a Valar? His manipulation was meticulous and so well tailored to Celebrimbor's complex. Alas for the weakness of the great, for a mighty king is Gil-galad, and wise in all lore is Master Elrond, and yet they will not aid me in my labours. Can it be that they do not desire to see other lands become as blissful as their own? But wherefore should Middle-earth remain forever desolate and dark, whereas the elves could make it as fair as Erisea, nay even as Valinor? And since you have not returned thither, as you might, I perceive that you love this Middle-earth as I do. It is not then our task to labour together for its enrichment, and for the raising of all the elven kindreds that wander here untaught to the height of that power and knowledge which those have who are beyond the sea? As years became decades and decades became centuries, Annatar became a part of Eregion society. The longer he stayed, the more he was trusted, and the more influence he bore. Under his tutelage and Celebrimbor's leadership, the Gwaith-i-Myrdain were ready to create something to rival everything they'd done before. Hundreds of years later, as the Second Age wore slowly on and Annatar continued to play his part, the Gwaith-i-Myrdain were exploring how they might help the elves heal and preserve their kingdoms in Middle-earth. With his mind forever on the magic of his grandfather's great Silmarils, Celebrimbor knew there was a way to put power into devices. In the year 1500 of the Second Age, Celebrimbor and Annatar began forging the Rings of Power. This marked the culmination of centuries of learning and collaboration. Eregion crackled in tension, anticipation, hope, and wonder as the elven smiths prepared to craft their greatest works yet and give their people a power they so desperately required. It was of course all Annatar's idea. His pitch was too good to pass up. The elves knew their light was dimming, and here was a way to shine brighter than ever before. For a race so enamoured with the light of Valinor, here was a chance to find a light in Middle-earth. Eventually, 19 Rings of Power were made by Celebrimbor and Annatar, 3 for the elves, 7 for the dwarves, and 9 for men. Each group different to the last, and each ring unique in its own way. As the forging went on, the warnings of the wise continued, and the mistrust of Galadriel and Elrond grew. Behind the fair face of Annatar, they sensed a looming darkness, a threat that Celebrimbor, too focused on his goals, couldn't or wouldn't see. There was a palpable sense of unease in Eregion, but Celebrimbor never faltered. The deception of Annatar was perfectly designed for the smith. He had no idea that his greatest creation would soon prove to be his worst mistake. A punishment for hubris, perhaps. The stage was set for a revelation that would shake Middle-earth to its core and plague the continent for an age. In the year 1600 of the Second Age, Sauron made his move. With leave to come and go from Eregion as the trusted Annatar, he retired to One Ring, and in his private forge at Mount Doom. After centuries of careful manipulation, he forged the One Ring. This ring, the 20th ring of power, was designed to control all others, a master key to dominate Middle-earth. When Sauron placed it on his finger, his true identity was finally revealed to the horrified elves. The three, worn by Galadriel, Gil-galad and Círdan, flared with deception. They saw the whole play now clearly, felt the betrayal, and removed their rings lest they come under Sauron's control. Celebrimbor was racked with sorrow and guilt. He was the one who had welcomed Annatar, protected him from people who thought less of him, and told him the most closely guarded elven craft secrets. Now he saw that he had put his trust in the wrong person, and the terrible results would be felt for all time. Sauron, whose lie was now known, demanded that all the rings be given to him. He claimed the right of ownership, that they would not exist without his teaching and knowledge. The elves refused, which set the stage for a terrible conflict. The War of the Elves and Sauron began in SA 1697. Sauron came to Eregion unmasked and in force. He sacked the once great centre of elvendom, burning, looting and pillaging Ostinil. For Celebrimbor, Sauron has prepared a final humiliation. Captured and forced to hand over the Seven and the Nine, but refusing the whereabouts of the Three as a final act of defiant redemption. The smith was tortured and died of his wounds, shot with arrows and hung as a banner from a pole, paraded as a trophy of war. Celebrimbor's sad tale ended along with the great line of Fëanor. But Sauron escaped with the other rings of power, which he distributed to dwarves and men in order to control them and sow discord into their kingdoms. The legacy of Annatar's deception echoed through the ages of Middle-earth. The rings of power born from Celebrimbor's ambition and Sauron's manipulation became instruments of both preservation and destruction. They shaped the fates of elves, dwarves, and men for millennia to come. Celebrimbor's story serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of unchecked ambition and the importance of heeding wise counsel. His desire to surpass his grandfather's achievements blinded him to the warnings of those around him. It's a tale that resonates even in our own world, where the allure of quick success can sometimes lead us astray. What do you think? Was Celebrimbor at fault for his ambition, his pride and his hubris? Could Galadriel, Gil-galad and Elrond have acted on their suspicions and prevented Annatar from gaining his position in elven society? How could Middle-earth have avoided becoming entangled in the tale of the Rings of Power? Let us know in the comments. Fantasy Fables is a channel dedicated to the best fantasy books, movies and TV shows of our time. If you want to hear more theories like this, make sure you like, subscribe, comment and ring that notification bell for our next video. And don't forget, you can leave us a comment below requesting what you want to see from us next. The comments with the most likes will become new videos and we'll give you a shout out. Until next time.